What's up guys, Brandon Allen here, and today we're going to go over the fundamental principles of bench pressing and how to bench press more effectively. I got my buddy Hunter Hernandez here. Who are you, buddy?
I'm Hunter Hernandez, and I'm a multi-ply powerlifter, unlimited powerlifter, mainly a bench press specialist. Right now my goal is to break the all-time world record. I've attempted it a couple of times. I've gone over it in training. The goal right now is just to be the biggest bench presser ever at under 150 pounds.
So Hunter's over here to give me a hand. He's going to be my model for the day. He's a beautiful specimen, so I figured he's the right guy to call. So we're going to go over the basics of bench pressing. One of the first things first is going to be bar placement, or bar height, your rack height. When you're in a competition, you pick your rack height prior. Those of you that compete understand what I'm talking about. So Hunter, let's go ahead and get down and show him why we chose this height. Mind you, we have an unloaded bar right now, so he's just floating as high on the pad as he's possibly going to be. So when we pick the bar height, or the rack height, we need to make sure that we have enough clearance so when he has big weight on it, it's going to compress him down. It's going to make him even shorter. So this height right here allows him to unrack the weight properly and still giving him enough space that he gets into some kind of trouble, he will be able to rack it successfully without crushing his face. Perfect. All right, when we bench press, it all starts with the feet. That's where kind of everything starts. So that's where we generate our power from. So foot placement is important. Now, the main goal of our foot placement is to create tension through the legs all the way throughout the body, which you can transfer through the hands. Now, there is your outliers that are going to be different that don't fit into this model. We're not talking about those. We're talking about the masses and what works for most people. So people are going to have their feet back, nice and close to them, tight. Some people will have their feet further out. People that have really long shins or people that have to be further out. Someone like Hunter, who has great foot placement, for his bench, is going to set up like so. So see how far his feet are back? Now he's going to pull himself over. Now he's creating all this tension through his leg. So he's actually going to have less leg drive than someone that'll have their feet further out, just because he has so much tension already created. Now you can go in close together or you can go in wide. That's just going to depend on the flexibility of the person. So we also have our knees below the hip. This is very important as well. That's creating more tension that'll transfer through the bar. Depending on your federation, you may have to have your feet flat. If that was the case for Hunter, he would have to wear a heeled shoe, which would get him flat, or bring his feet up like that. Now he has as maximum drive as possible. Now, when we talk about foot pressure or leg drive, we don't, at least for me, I don't push down through my heels, because when you push down through your heels, your butt comes up, which is illegal in a bench press. If he pushes through his toes, almost like doing a leg extension, pushing out towards me, that is now going to create the power down as opposed to up, and pushing the bar back. You know what I mean? What we're trying to create. So next important thing is going to be shoulder and scapula placement. Come up, let's show them what we mean by that. So when we bench press, we want to make our chest as big as possible to shorten the range of motion. We're going to achieve that by pulling his shoulders back and then bringing them down. This is also going to put his shoulders in the safest spot to minimize the risk of injury and to ensure longevity so you can continue training and keep getting stronger. Let's go ahead and see what it looks like as you set up. So first thing first is going to be his foot placement. Now he's working on his shoulders. So now he's walking his traps in together, pinching his scapula together, and then creating a big chest while pulling his shoulders down. He's up all the way as high as he can possibly be on his traps, making this the shortest range of motion possible for the bench press. Remember, in powerlifting, our goal is to manipulate the rules and to move as much weight as possible with using a minimal amount of effort so we can use more weight. Perfect. All right, next thing we're going to talk about is going to be hand placement. Hand placement is going to vary on the lifter. Different lengths of arms, different widths of shoulders, different sizes of chest, different grips is going to change. So traditionally, we want to grip to where when we have the bar down to our chest, we create a nice 90-degree angle out of the elbows. So see there, we got a nice 90-degree angle. Now come up. Now if he brought his grip in closer, like more my style or even maybe more traditional, so the things that are going to change here is going to be where he touches. He's going to touch lower now to create that 90-degree angle, boom, and then press up and rack. So hand placement's important. Like I said, it's going to vary on the lifter. There is no right way to do it. Each person will have, different things that are going to make them, press more efficiently. I, for one, bench real low in my chest because I bench narrow. Hunter benches a little higher on his chest than I do because he's wider. It's just the way it works and how we generate the most power. If you're like a more tricep dominant presser, yeah, a close grip is gonna be more beneficial for you. If you're a more shoulder pec dominant presser like Hunter is, a wider grip is gonna be more beneficial for him. And also, you know, we're trying to manipulate the weight. So shorter range of motion, wider press is ideally gonna be better on paper. It's just whether or not that works for you, your specific style of pressing or not. Okay, also now, when we bench press, we want to be squeezing the bar as hard as we can. The harder your muscles are, the harder everything is, the better the energy will transfer all the way through. Also, while he's gripping the bar, he's going to be creating tension on the insides of his palms and his thumb area, almost bending the bar, which will then create more tension in between his lat and his tricep, which is even more pressing power coming off the chest. So if this was a piece of bamboo, it would be bent like a rainbow right now from the tension that Hunter's creating. See that tension? So that's what he's doing. Also now, go ahead and rack. When we bench press, we don't want to get our wrist into a dump position to where it's too far back and we're losing energy on the press. And we also don't want to be overextended forward to where it's coming too far forward in the palm and kind of want to slip out of your thumb. There's a medium where it's just slightly tilted back. That's going to create the best pressure all the way throughout the hand. This is why when you see power lifters wear wrist wraps. When you wear a wrist wrap, you want to wrap it with your wrist flexed down. And then that way, when you straighten it out, now you have support from keeping it from bending back. That's literally the essential on how a wrist wrap works. Okay, so now that Hunter has his leg, his foot position dialed in, he's got his shoulders pinched back, he's got his hand grip proper, he's unracking the weight, he's keeping his chest nice and big, he's keeping his head flat down. Now, you can look when you press, actually it's very common in equip lifting to kind of look for bar placement. And raw powerlifting, it's not as common because you have to actively think about keeping your big chest while you're doing this. So it's better to keep your head flat, and then just getting used to the movement and the pattern and knowing where to press every time. Also at the top, he's gonna take a big breath, fill everything up. Now he's holding his breath. He's tight, he's clenched, he's bringing the bar down. Boom, fires up, boom, now he lets that air out. You don't let that air out, till you're about to lock out that lift. The reason why is we want to keep everything tight, keep our bracing tight and our core tight, and not to come down, and then let your air out. Now he's sinking in. Now he's just lost all that. You know what I mean? It's not what we want. We want to keep everything up nice and tall and press. Show him one proper way of doing it. Big air. Lets it out. Now, he can hold that breath for multiple reps. I don't recommend it personally. I like to breathe on every single rep. That's just my personal preference. What works for you, you'll find out as you go and train longer.
Like an equip bench, big belly style would be more like I learned from Mendelsohn, which was like this.
I'll do more of a raw, just more to the chest.
Raw.
Okay, now show what it looks like when you dump your air at the bottom. And then press. See what I mean? That's why we want to hold our breath throughout the entire lift. Like I was stating earlier in the video, leg drive and foot pressure is going to depend based off the setup of the lifter. Hunter is so tight, his feet so far behind, he's creating constant tension. There's not much like leg drive in the way you think, he's constantly creating that leg drive. To where if you were benching more like a big guy, big stance, bring your feet out and show them what that would look like. Now here, there's not nearly as much tension set up. It's gonna have to be created in force. So now when he brings the bar out and when he's going to lower to his chest, now he's actively pushing down with his legs to create that pressure that's not as created when he's tight under. This works. You see his feet slipping a little bit? That's because he doesn't have a ton of weight on. It's like creating a wedge that he'd be digging his feet into. That's what we mean by leg drive. Now, press down. When he presses down, his ass comes up. That's no good. We don't want that. Pressing out, that's what we want to create, and that's the pressure. If you had a ton of weight on here, you'd be sticking to that bench, and it would come and keep the weight off his face. Last but not least, we bench press. Bar path is extremely important. We want to press as short as range of motion as possible. So when we create that negative tension, we're making that big chest, when we press, it's almost like doing a negative or like a decline press, which is where we're much stronger in than doing a flat bench. So let's go ahead and set up and show them what that's going to look like. So his path is going to look a little like a banana. He's going to come down, and when he presses, it's going to go up slightly over towards his face. It's exactly what we want, shortest range of motion. And that way, right here when he's sitting with the weight, this is effortless. This isn't hard for him to maintain the weight there. Now, if you were holding the weight out, That's hard to do. He's using a ton of shoulder, very dangerous, not where we want to be. If he was up over his face, same thing. He's using a lot of lat to stabilize the weight. Bring it right over. That's where he wants to start. He'll come down a little lower, come back up, right back to that position, creating a little banana. And that would probably be the most efficient way to bench, in my opinion. Input on that? Same, agree?
Yeah, the only thing I would mention is like making sure that lifters take the time to understand what they're capable of range of motion wise. Like take a PVC and just come out, like this one thing I learned from JM, like come out like this, lock your arms and try to shorten your bar path, like as much as possible with your arms still locked. So if somebody put their hand there and slowly lower their hand toward your chest and suck that shit in, you know what I mean? So when I lock, every lockout is a little bit lower.
Right.
I don't have to push it as far, but I'm still locking my elbows.
Right.
White light.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, remember we want to manipulate the rules the best we can. All right, guys, so that's the fundamentals of bench pressing. I hope that helps you. Remember, the most important things are the setup. So foot placement is huge. Next is going to be shoulder, scapula placement, big chest. Make sure your hand placement is proper and be consistent where this isn't, you don't try new things each time you bench. You find something that works, stick with it. And then if you need to make adjustments later on, then you do. But every single thing needs to look the same. You're like a machine. Your foot placement is the exact same every time. Your back placement on the pads is the same every time. Your chest placement, your hand placement, all the same. Your breathing, huge breath at the top. Hold it in, embrace, boom, explode that weight up, rack it, get the white light, get the girls. See you guys later.